future prospects of biotechnology and some of the techniques which are being used so that we get a better crop improvement. The next one what we are going to see is the RNA interference. So it is written in short as RNAi. So RNA interference, this is an attractive strategy for preventing pathogens. Okay, what it does is this RNA interference, it involves a short sequence of RNA molecule. It is a very short sequence of molecule. This molecule, this RNA, it will interfere with the activity of your pathogen. The function of this RNA interference, that is, that RNA is interfering, okay, that particular RNA gene is interfering with the pathogen, and then it is trying to kill the pathogen. So this is a very attractive strategy to kill the pathogen. How it is done means, the RNA pathway is, this particular pathway is found both in plants and animals, and it is initiated by an enzyme known as dicer. Here you can see this enzyme. This enzyme, okay, you find RNAi in all plants and animals, and the most important protein is your, or the enzyme is your dicer. What this dicer does is, it cleaves this double-stranded RNA. Whatever strand I have written, it is a double-stranded RNA. So this dicer, it cleaves this double-stranded RNA. How it cleaves means, it cleaves into a short fragments. These fragments will be having only like 20 nucleotides. So it will cut this enzyme is going to cut your double-stranded RNA into short fragments, which will contain only 20 nucleotide. Now out of this, the strands what you're seeing, the fragmented strand, one of the strand will act like a guide strand. So one, for example, this will consider any of this. Okay, this will act as a guide strand, like a leader. It will act as a guide strand, and it is incorporated into RNA-induced silencing complex. What does that mean? Means, after it has cut into small nucleotide, one of the fragments of your RNA, it will act as a guide strand, and this guide strand will go and get incorporated into RISC activation. What is RISC means? RNA-induced silencing complex. Okay, so this will activate this RISC, and it will guide this complex. It will guide this complex to bind and degrade your pathogens mRNA. So that is the function. Once again, I'll repeat. This is a very important technique in crop improvement, which is known as the RNA interference. So what it does means, it inhibits the gene expression by interfering with the transcription or translation of the RNA molecule of the pathogen. So this double-stranded RNA, it is cleaved by the dicer. I told you it is present in both of the plants and animals. So since it is a crop improvement, agriculture, we'll speak only about that part. So when it cuts, it will cut into many short fragments of 20 nucleotides, and then one of your strands will act like a guide, and then it will get incorporated into a complex known as the RISC complex, and it will tell this complex, you go and bind to the pathogen genetic material. Okay, so it will go and bind to this pathogen genetic material, and what it will do is, it will interfere with the transcription and the translation of the RNA molecule. It will not happen. These are inhibited in the pathogen. So now what will happen to the pathogen? It is going to die. That is why we are protecting it, our crop plant. So the last one, what we are going to see, the practical application, that is another question what they asked is the future prospects of your biotechnology. One is to provide disease resistance. Okay, so this one what we do is vaccines for plants contain dead or weakened strain of plant virus. So there are many viruses, okay, which are infecting what your plants. So these are my plants which is being infected by the virus. So what we do is we weaken this virus. Otherwise, we will kill the virus. Then we are injecting it into the plant. The dead and the weakened virus, we are integrating into a plant. Now what happens? The plant's immune system will respond to it and it will start activating the immune system. Whose immune system? The plant's immune system is activated. So now what it is acting as? It is acting like a vaccine. So if you weaken or kill that particular plant virus, it is acting like a vaccine, and this vaccine is what you are injecting. That is what I told you. So when you're injecting this vaccine, the plant's immune system will recognize it as a foreign and start producing or activating the immune system. So the transgenic plants will express the viral protein to confer the immunity, exactly like in animals what you all studied in immunology. It is acting like a vaccine. So we are providing disease resistant plants. Another technology is coat protein technology. So here what happens, we know this tobacco mosaic virus, it is infecting our tobacco plant. So what the scientists have done is they have taken the gene from the TMV. Okay, this is your tobacco mosaic virus and it is carrying the gene RNA. Okay, so what they do is they have isolated this gene, cloned the gene, and then see here the DNA for virus coat. So what they have done is they have synthesized this virus coat. This tobacco mosaic virus, it is an RNA. It is having the nucleic acid as RNA and it is bound by the coat protein. So what the scientists have done is they've taken the gene from TMV and then they have integrated it into the agrobacteria and then they have inserted into the plant cells. What are these plant cells? These plant cells are your tobacco. It can be a leaf or whatever. Okay, from tobacco plant, the leaves. So now what happens? This agrobacterium has got integrated into your tobacco plant. Now what is it, the gene it is carrying? It is carrying the DNA virus coat protein. So now what happens? They will next select, they will put it into a selection media. What is the function of the selection media? The function of the selection media is to select only the transformed cells. Transformed cell means which is carrying the agrobacteria. Only that cells it will select and they will start developing it into a tissue culture. So once the plants have been developed, what you can do is you can read the regenerated transgenic plant expressing the protein leaf. Okay, here what they do is they add the virus to the leaves. Only those plants will survive which is carrying the gene for the coat protein, whereas the other plants will die. That is the function of this coat protein. So what happens is you have tobacco mosaic virus. It is an mRNA. Even that has a protein coat. So virus coat RNA is converted first into cDNA. cDNA means complementary DNA. So the scientist will do this. They will make a complementary DNA by using a reverse transcriptase. Then what they will do, the DNA for virus coat. Now that virus coat is there, no? That coat, what is they do is they put it into the plasmid. Which plasmid? They put it into the plasmid of the agrobacteria, because we know that agrobacteria can infect the plants. So now we take the cells of the plant, explant. Will not take the entire plant. You take the leaf or stem or anything. Only that plant cell is taken. Remember, it is the explant we tell when you're taking the small portion of the leaf, stem or bud, whatever it is. So we'll try to grow it in a culture media. So that is a selective culture media. What it selects is, it will select only those plant cells wherein this agrobacterium is infected. Okay, my agrobacterium is infected. Now, what is that agrobacterium carrying? It is carrying the coat protein of the tobacco mosaic virus. Now, all these are carrying the coat protein. Now, this is also acting like a vaccine. Now, when your TMV comes and infects, this plant is already ready to defend against it. It will fight against the virus and it will not be infected. But you see, this plant control plant, that is, it is not carrying any transgene, so it will die. That is the meaning of this coat protein. So transgenic plant expresses the viral protein to confer immunity. Even this is acting like a vaccine. It is triggering the immune system of the plant. Next, insect control. This will be dealt in detail. Insect control and herbicide is a separate topic which will be dealing in detail, but we can see it what is happening. So this is a bacteria, Bacillus thuringiensis, which is present in the soil, and it carries a protein. That protein is known as the cry protein. In detail we shall study about all this. Just remember now, this Bacillus thuringiensis is a bacteria which is present in the soil. It is carrying a protein. That protein is toxic to your pest. Who's my pest here? This is the pest. And what is the name of this pest? It is a European corn borer. That is, it feeds on the corn plant or the maize plant. So, transgenic plants containing the gene for Bt toxin and have been built in the defense against these plants. That means to tell, what the scientists have done is, they have isolated this protein and then they have transferred the gene into your corn plant. Now what is happening? All your corn plant is containing the gene cry protein. From where? From the Bacillus thuringiensis. Now what happens when the actual worm or the insects, they come and feed on your corn plant, it is going to die because the leaf is carrying this gene, the poisonous gene for that worm. So it will eat and it will get, that protein will enter into, from the leaf it will enter into the insect, wherein it will dissolve all the contents of the insect and ultimately the insect will die. This in detail we shall explain, but just remember, biotechnology can be used even for insect control. The next is the soya herbicide tolerant soya bean. This also we should study in detail. For time being, remember this, herbicide tolerant soya bean. What are herbicides? Herbicides are those which are used to kill the herbs or the weeds, unwanted plant. Okay, unwanted plants like herbs, weeds. Because what happens if they are in the field? They consume all the nutrition and nothing is left for our plant. So what they have done is, this Monsanto is a company which has produced an herbicide which will kill the plants. Okay, that chemical or that compound is known as the Roundup. It is an herbicide. Now it is a broad spectrum herbicide. Broad spectrum herbicide means, if you put it in the field, now see this, for example, if this is the field, your crop plant is also there, your weeds are also there. Now your herbicide Roundup, it doesn't know which is crop plant, which is the weed. If you spray here, it is going to kill all the plants. How it will kill? By blocking the enzymes required for photosynthesis. So this Roundup is going to block the enzyme responsible for the photosynthesis, thus all the plants will die. Now even if my soya plant, now I planted in my field soya bean, even if that dies, what is the use of it? It will be an ultimate loss for me. So what they have done is, they have modified the soya bean itself. Okay, the soya bean itself they have modified in such a way that it can be tolerant. The soya bean is now tolerant to what? to this herbicide. So when I'm growing now the soya beans, along with it some other undesirable plants are also growing, I spray the herbicide, all this unwanted plant will die except my soya bean, because it is carrying a transgene which can tolerate this herbicide. See, this is one example what they have shown, Roundup. You can see that before it was like this. After spraying, you see all your unnecessary plants have been destroyed, but only your corn plant, which is of your interest because it is carrying the transform gene which can tolerate this herbicide, only that survives. Second example also, this also in detail we should study, but for time being remember this. This is another herbicide, glufosinate, okay, wherein we make a crop plant tolerant to this glufosinate herbicide. So this herbicide contains an active ingredient called as phosphinothrycin. So phosphinothrycin is an active ingredient of the herbicide glufosinate. So what this fellow does, this phosphinothrycin, it is going to kill the plants by blocking the enzymes responsible for nitrogen metabolism and for detoxifying the ammonia. That is, when I spray to my field, okay, if this is my field and all my plants are growing here, if I spray this herbicide, what it will do is, it is going to act on this plant. How? It is going to inactivate the nitrogen metabolism. Nitrogen metabolism is important for all the crops, right? It is going to go and act against the nitrogen metabolism and detoxifying the ammonia. So if the ammonia builds up, what happened? It is poisonous to the plant. Okay, so it is going to, this herbicide, it will block your nitrogen metabolism and also your ammonia. It is going to detoxifying the ammonia. So what they have done is, the crops, no, they have altered the crops. What they have done is, they have taken an enzyme from a bacteria. That is a bacterial gene that produces an enzyme that detoxifies the phosphinothrycin. What it means the scientists have identified an enzyme from a bacteria. Enzyme is nothing but your gene. Okay, enzyme is what? Your protein. How the protein is made? My protein is made by the genes or your DNA. Okay, so we have, they know what is the gene which is producing this enzyme, and this enzyme is toxic to this, or it inactivates the phosphinothrycin, this one. And now what they have done is, they have introduced into your crop plant. Okay, this is my plant, crop plant. Now this is containing what? It is containing the bacterial gene. And this is my weed. Okay, this is my weed plant. Now if I spray this glufosinate, what happens? It is going to kill this plant. How? By inhibiting its nitrogen metabolism. But it is not going to affect this plant. Why? Because my plant is carrying bacterial gene which can destroy this herbicide itself. So it is tolerant to the herbicide. The same phenomena what we spoke previously. Lastly, you can see that we have what plant-based biopolymers and industrial enzymes. So what we are now all looking into biodegradable plastics. Okay, from where plastics are made by the polymers. So these include very novel polymers produced in the transgenic plants. So your plants have been transformed, carrying transgenic genes which can produce biodegradable thermoplastics. Another important point is application is therapeutic products. What does a plant produce? It is going to produce the fruits or vegetable which is nutritious for us. Does it produce some pharmaceutical compound? No. What? But what we are doing is, we are making this plant as a bioreactors, like a factory we consider it as, okay, and try to manufacture certain vaccines like bioactive peptides, vaccines, antibodies, okay, and edible vaccine is a very good example, as you have already studied. Okay, we modified the banana plant or potato plant so that it produces a vaccine. So when you're eating that banana or potato, what is happening? The vaccine is also entering into your body. Similarly, your bioactive peptides and others, okay? So the use of plant as bioreactors for the production of foreign non-plant biopharmaceuticals. These include your bioactive peptides, vaccines, and antibodies. So this phenomena is known as molecular farming. Why they have mentioned this non-plant biopharmaceutical is certain plants produce certain ingredients. Okay, like your willow plant, it produces aspirin that is used for biopharmaceutical for making medicine. But something else, okay, apart from that, any other medicines which are required for pharmaceuticals, if that is being developed, it is called as a non-plant biopharmaceutical. Actually, that plant is not producing, but we are making that plant to produce by genetic engineering method. Then nutritional components. So we all know that why we consume, because we want to get the nutrition, we want energy. So often referred to as nutraceuticals. What are nutraceuticals means? It is containing nutrition and it is containing the pharmaceutical property. So we are producing plant which can have the nutritional effect also and medicinal property also. So by using this transgenic method, we can produce the nutraceuticals, often referred to as nutraceuticals. These are various nutritional components that improve the nutritional value and quality of the food and can be produced in the transgenic plants. So these are another important. I can produce plastics, biodegradable plastics. I can produce certain biopharmaceutical products which the plant doesn't produce, but I can modify my plant to produce those nutritional components by producing a transgenic plant which can produce both nutritional and pharmaceutically important vegetables or fruit or whatever it may be. Then lastly, you can see that we produce biofuel and biodiesel. Now biofuel is very much coming into the market. Okay, so what is happening? What is your biofuel? What you're producing? It is the ethanol. So my biofuel is the ethanol. From where are you producing this ethanol? I'm producing it from the starch or the sugar. Where did you get the starch or the sugar? I got it from the feedstock. Which is that feedstock? It is my corn or the sugarcane. So using the corn and sugarcane, I'm extracting that starch or sugar from it and producing the ethanol, and I'm calling it as a biofuel because it is naturally produced. But now what is happening? Increased biofuel production from food crop can negatively affect the food market prices. Why? Because this corn and sugarcane is necessary for human, for you and for me to eat. And then if you use up all this for ethanol production, what is happening? There is a tough competition between the markets, the food market and the biofuel market. So instead of what happens, the prices will increase. Okay. So what they have told, now what they are doing is, instead of going and taking, synthesizing ethanol from the corn and sugarcane, which is a food product for an human, what you'll do is, it is being replaced by lignocelluloid biomass. Instead of starch and sugar, you use lignocelluloid biomass, mainly from the forest trees and grasses, because we don't consume these grasses or these forestry. So you take the lignocellulose from that and then you produce the ethanol instead of using corn and sugarcane, which is required for the mankind. Thus you can produce the biofuel. This is a very attractive means of technique. Similarly, your biodiesel. Biodiesel is currently produced mainly from soybean and canola, but oils from seeds of non-food plants such as castor bean are possibly good alternative. What they mean to tell is, now you all are producing biodiesel. From where you all are producing biodiesel? From the soybean and canola. But the soybean and canola is useful for consumption for man, for his usage. So instead of using these two, you'll use castor beans, because we don't consume these castor beans. So you produce your biodiesel using your castor beans instead of using this. So it is a good alternative, both this. One more important application is the golden rice. Now you know the story of the golden rice because we saw the we can see that many people, particularly in African countries, many children before they reach their teenage, most of them are blind, and this blindness is because of the lack of vitamin A. And the precursor of vitamin A is your beta carotene. So what the scientists were doing is, see, this rice is a staple food. For example, salt. In salt, what they have added iodine so that we do not end up in goiter disease. Similarly, what happens, the scientists thought, why not we add beta carotene into the rice? So look at this. How beta carotene is produced means it is by through this pathways. From isopentenyl pyrophosphate to all these intermediates, I get beta carotene. So for converting my reactant into my final product, that is the beta carotene, what do I require? I require these enzymes. But these enzymes are lacking in my rice plant or the rice grains. They don't have this enzymes, so they are not able to produce the beta carotene. So I'm getting this normal vitamin deficient rice is what we are consuming. Instead of that, what the scientists thought is, let us introduce all these genes into the rice plant so that it will produce beta carotene, so that I will get a rice which is rich in vitamin A. So now what the scientists did is, they started to introduce, this vitamins which were lacking in your original rice, this white rice. These enzymes were not present. That is why they could not produce the beta carotene. So what they did was, from daffodil genes, okay, they introduced this daffodil gene phyton synthase and lycopene beta cyclase. And from another bacteria, Erwinia uridophora, this is a single bacterial genes, but it performs dual function. That is, it is going to produce phyton desaturase and carotene desaturase. Now what has happened from daffodil and from this bacteria, we have taken the genes and put it into a rice plant. Now what happens? The reaction for producing your beta carotene occurs. Okay, because all the enzymes are there, my reactants can produce the product. Okay, my product, what is the beta carotene? You can see the golden rice. Now this is the vitamin A pathway is complete and functional because you have introduced the genes from your daffodil and Erwinia and you got the golden rice, which is rich in beta carotene. Now when you consume this, you get vitamin A and it can prevent the blindness. Coming to our last topic of today's, whatever we are speaking is the importance of biotechnology, the future of biotechnology in crop improvement. Remember that. One more is, non-Hodgkin's B cell lymphoma is most prevalent form of lymphoma. What it means to tell is, this non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, it is a cancer of your B cell. How it is formed? It actually, the lymph nodes, okay, we have the lymph nodes and that becomes cancerous. That is called as the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That is what this word is there. Your lymph, okay, will end up in having cancer. And this is the most prevalent form of cancer. It stands in the 4th or 6th position wherein people die because of the lymph node cancer. Now what the scientists have done is, they have introduced cancer in the laboratory into the mice. So they have introduced this non-Hodgkin's B-cell lymphoma, the cancer, into the mice. Now what happens? My mice is having the cancer, malignancy. Okay. So it has ended up in cancer. So now what the scientists have done is, they have taken the gene, wherever it has caused cancer from this malignancy, they have taken that gene. After taking that gene, which is causing the cancer, they have introduced into the tobacco plant. How they are introduced into the tobacco plant is, this is your tobacco plant. This is all your tobacco plant which they are growing. Okay. So this mice, scientists introduce the cancer. From that you isolate the gene. From this malignancy, you isolate the gene which is causing the cancer. You introduce the gene into tobacco mosaic virus, because this is a vector which is going to infect your tobacco plant. Now, once the tobacco plant gets this TMV, what it will do? Naturally, plant system also have their own defense mechanism like a human. Okay, when something foreign comes into our body, we will fight against it. Similarly, the plant's immune system is also going to fight it naturally. So now what it will do is, it will start producing the B cell antibodies, who your tobacco plant, to defend itself against from this TMV. So now what the scientists have done is, they have extracted that B cell. Okay. See here, the decided B cell which was extracted, and then what did they do? They injected, they extracted the B cell from this tobacco plant and they injected it into the mice. Then what they observed was, the mice slowly, the cancer causing malignancy decreased, and ultimately they saw that the mice was completely free from cancer. But still this trial is done only on the animal, that is the mice. It does not come into the human trial. So this is very good thing. They inserted the gene into the tobacco mosaic virus and exposed the tobacco plants to the virus. As the virus spreads to the tobacco leaves, the plants produces the decided B cells. Against who? Against this tobacco mosaic virus, which is carrying that malignancy, cancer. Now what did the scientists do? They extracted the B cells and then they injected into the mice. Then it had received the lethal dosage of the tumor, and 80% of the mice receiving the vaccine survived the lymphoma, while untreated mice died within the 3 weeks. So this is also, you can see that many plants cannot withstand what salinity. Okay, so your tomato plants carrying foreign gene that protects tomato plant cells from salt-induced dehydration thrive in 200 millimolar of salt solution. That is, they have manipulated this tomato plant in such a way that it can withstand the salinity, that is the salt, up to 200 millimolar concentration. So this can survive because it is transgenically modified, whereas this tomato plant, it did not survive.